content. Made with you in mind, people that matter the most. On Mondays at 12 a.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. Central, only on Revolution Radio Studio B. Be a
The people's war. It is
cycle. Interviews experts and individuals who understand the intensifying cycle of economic, societal, and government upheaval, so you can stay ahead of the changes in our world and keep your family safe. Fortunately for us, we can recognize that we're at the precipice, a point in history where we can all see the cycle changing. Where we go from here is up to us. So let's start the conversation, and welcome to the show.
And I do welcome you this evening, wherever you are on this beautiful blue planet. Oh, another day to give thanks for a breath as we take and move through existence. And as we've seen, it does seem that the world is, well, a little bit stranger than it was last week. And we say that every week, but I don't know. It just seemed to be a sign of the times, does it not? Well, you know, as we look around the world spinning, we see more and more crop losses again, whether it's from the superstorms coming on the West Coast here in the U.S., the now 6 to 8 week delayed repair for Almeria and the largest greenhouse growing area on the planet, raising vegetable and food prices across Europe. There's going to be astounding price rises because of the season moving from what you could have produced yourself, and the greenhouses aren't producing, so there'll be almost no veg through Europe this year. At least a 30% reduction instantly right now. And also, this article on my phone here, How to Outlive a Food-Generated Crisis by Mass Deportations, Agricultural Food Production Sectors. Wherever we're looking, now we're talking about tariffs from other countries on food coming into the U.S. So how do we continue to live our lives as we see this continuation of economic, restructuring, population migration, and the way that governments are going to oversee the citizens is changing. We see this every time in a grand solar minimum, these fingerprints through history as these cycles that are going to dent food production in a natural fashion due to whatever's happening with the magnetic fields on the sun affecting our magnetic field on the planet and everything else moving around that change. All the excuses are in place for that. And here we are, just look at the news headlines from today. Bitcoin to 100,000, gold right near record highs again, people running for safety. That is not because those things are becoming more expensive. That's because the US dollar is devaluing. And as it continues to devalue, all these prices are going to continue to go up as people flock to these assets that will keep them safe. Food, that's going to be an asset too. And Ransom and I have talked about this a few times, so I'm so happy you're with me tonight. I'm going to be monitoring the chat right over here. Ryan's with us tonight, throwing us some different ideas here. Let me get the microphone up. Ransom, appreciate you joining me. And wow, what a week it's been, huh? And especially the drop down of what looked like alien craft into the Ukraine.
Right, I was watching that. Am I too loud?
No, perfect. Coming in 5x5.
Sound like I got an echo. Anyway, yeah, we got to see hypersonic missiles dropping down. Ain't that great? And if you notice, no one stopped them from landing. Not one of them missed their mark. So that was kind of just, I don't know, is that a mutually assured destruction demonstration?
Yeah.
So that, these guys are crazy. They want to play with their toys. That's what it just seems like to me. But we talked about this specifically in Ukraine. So if it gets put to the new level or next level, I think Ukraine and their little breadbasket is going to feel the brunt of it. It may be just another Hiroshima, Nagasaki demonstration because, they used one gravity bomb and they set the other one off in the air to test what an airburst would do. And those were little toys compared to what we're talking about now. I don't think that they'll do it myself. I just, well, I got to think that. I live in a first strike area here in New Mexico. I don't want to say where, give them ideas. But I've seen the...
They're listening to your Ransom. They're tuning in tonight to Civilization Cycle. Thank you, everybody in Asia and Eurasia.
Right. Well, they already tested one here. I could say that, I guess. But it was a little thing compared to this. But I've seen the strategic targeting locations, and unfortunately, I'm in a first strike zone within the circumference of complete incineration. So, like, I would have to know before they do it, like, a good little amount of time to get at least... I think the biggest nuke they have, you would have to get at least 35 miles away to clear it. And that's just the, thermal radiation blast. That's not even the fallout or none of the stuff that comes after that. They may just decide that everybody's going to go in reverse. So mass migration back down to the equator. Think about all the people that just got into Europe in the last 10 years. Do you think they're questioning, what? Home doesn't sound that bad anymore. Now that NATO and Russia are kicking off fireworks. But what did we expect them to do after authorizing ballistic missiles to go in their country? I mean, obviously they had to escalate it and demonstrate. And then, so the question is what are we going to do now? Now that they've done that, are we going to back off quietly? You notice Poland and Germany and Italy and all these countries are flip-flopping now. War with Russia doesn't seem, so great anymore all of a sudden. And we're hearing some flip-flop talk from the governments now. I don't know if I want to support the U.S. and their escalation. That's what they're saying. It's pretty, I can't believe I'm living in it.
Yeah, so interesting, though, as you said, the pushing down toward the equator, and it brought me back to during the last ice age, we were squeezed down near the equator. So imagine that. Not only would it be just from ice on our planet in a regular 100,000-year cycle, but imagine the radiation from that, too, squeezing us down toward the equators again. I mean, how many times can humanity get squeezed and pulsed down into 20 north to 20 south? And that's it. That band is where humanity lives. Great for tropical, margaritas on the beach and everything. But in terms of, having that kind of I don't know how many people you could, get down there for a relocation effort. I mean, the glaciation period, people just naturally migrated as the conditions were getting colder, couldn't grow food. And you look in Africa where some of these old mega lakes were, and you wonder why people had moved closer and closer and closer and closer. They've abandoned some traditional areas to come in closer to the water. Humanity moves to where conditions are best, whether it's an ice age, whether it's a mega drought for 7,000 years off the Sahel drying out in a 6,000-year period, or whether it's radiation circling around the planet. Doesn't really matter. We are malleable beings. We're going to go where conditions are best.
Right.
So what does that leave us with then?
I don't know. Is this the famous man-made global warming that we've all heard so much about? Think about this. Last night I was thinking, if everybody started rushing away from where they just showed up to, there would be this giant traffic jam in Panama and in Egypt and Israel. There would just be massive people trying to move those little bitty tiny island crossings to get to, central locations and southern locations on the planet.
Puppy cameo. She won't leave me alone here. She's like, "What are you doing? I don't want to get off the chair and go open the door." But this little thing, yeah. I mean, the world is becoming so bizarre right now. Here, you want to get down? All right, go on. Yeah, the world's getting so bizarre right now. It's just kind of, wondering what the next twist is going to be. But taking out the food supply and, making people move if you were able to hit part of this food supply, now I'm going on it from two different directions here. I talked to Eric Gajewski just the other day. He runs Trek Hat Night. Some of you know him, some of you don't. A little bit controversial on some issues. And what he was telling me was this Dark Winter script running, that the plan was to wreck the global economy and reset it and bring in an entirely new system, shut down some of the ports, knock off a bunch of goods, reduce the amount of supply, get people onto, rationing systems, and then, bring us in with some sort of new currency, tracked and traced, whatever form that might take. But think about how easy it would be if the global economy collapses. We'll have no money in the supply chain, like farm financing is the proper term for this, where banks give money to farmers to buy the seed in advance. Like if we miss a full planting season, we're toast on the planet. Throw a couple, low yields into some grain zones, that would spook the planet and instantly collapse the economy. But then, you got to think of that next step. If we're watching Almeria in Spain, the greenhouse area that lost about, now they're saying closer to 18,000 acres of greenhouses during that massive hailstorm that dumped a year's worth of rain in a day on Barcelona. And then that was the second storm, but the first one was Valencia. Then Barcelona got hit with nearly a year's worth of rain after that. It was like some unusual storms right there, but it dropped 8 inches of hail down on those greenhouses. And then they had sideline winds that bent a lot of framing. So it's not just, you're going to replace your netting or whatever, shade cover off that. There was some serious damage. So it's just a death by 1,000 cuts. So a low grade nuke, that would spook everybody. Market would collapse, no farm financing. And we see everywhere else around the planet how many cutoffs there's been of food fires in the food factories, cattle, chickens, wherever. There's just like massive, incredibly heavy losses in the global food supply since 2021-ish. But it escalates right now. And we're into this point where we are so precariously close to a rollover where there just won't be enough food on the planet. And at that point, then you got to think about, A, the panic it would create. I'm not going to be able to feed my kids. And then B, the total control that could be brought in, in an instant. A lot of people envision this thing is going to take years to roll out before they can get the Americans under control and then the other countries under control. Most of them are already. But people envision this going to be a roll slow out to some sort of like oppressive state. You take away the food, not even for a full season, spook the markets, make sure there's no farm financing, ports shut down. And if you're in the middle of winter, then that would be a very dark and scary winter. And things would change so drastically before the spring arrived. Unless you got microgreens in your house and ability to grow food indoors. You're looking at eating dried goods only with no fresh veg. And that's a tough one to do because, you get stopped up after a while. You need some roughage in there. But if you haven't been stockpiling like some beans and rice and that sort of thing, and I know you do and I do, a lot of people aren't going to be prepared for that. And then what? You're going to stand in line in the freezing cold for 2 to 3 hours outside of a Costco to get your turn in line with armed guards inside to like get your tiny little ration and then walk home. Rewind the clock into the World War II era when you see so many those scary pictures of people like wrapping around the block, and they're not standing there talking to each other. They are pressed chest to back, like you're not cutting in the line. So take me down that route for a second here, because I wanted to just quickly, this article here, somebody sent it to me earlier, how to outlive a food crisis generated by mass deportations. And this will also affect agriculture and food production sectors here. So what they were talking about is you're going to have to rely on local food systems. Back to your local support of your own local farmers. Now, be aware they're going to be inundated. And unless you know them already, you're not going to be very, welcome. You're not going to be thrown off the property, but you're just not going to get a place in line unless they know you. So that would be the first thing. Like this weekend, go find a farmer. The food cooperatives, those that are storing food, food banks, these types of things are going to be raided. And also they're going to be protected, and the community sense, hopefully it'll spur some community gardens or community sprouting types of things. Home gardening is going to take off huge. So how do you think you might be able to fit into that, your skills that you could help? And then we're going to need food preservation techniques. But the whole thing about the amount of labor hands that go into getting that produce out of the fields, like California is a good example. I know a lot of stuff's mechanized, but not all of it. If they're all gone, there's nobody to harvest the crops. And see, this is where we get into that catch-22. A lot of people are like, yeah, rah, rah. But are they thinking about their belly when it's grumbling because the yeah, rah, rah has spooked a bunch of people? Let me tell you a personal story. Lived out in Hawaii for many years back in early mid-1990s. And I was working out there, working in a couple restaurants. I was just into doing my own thing, surfing, just enjoying, mountain biking, hiking, that sort of thing. I was just taking some time off after university to just kind of sort life out. I'd gone to India and had my mind shattered on really what the reality of our world is, perceived of what we were taught in America, like to go out in the rest of the world and see what it wasn't compared to what we were said it was here. It was a mind bender for a bit. So I was like, I'm going to drop out for a minute. So I was working in some food and bev there. And I remember they came in and did a raid and were starting to check everybody's IDs. And this was immigration back then. Even the people that were legal took off. And there was nobody there in the restaurants. It was like a bunch of the waiters, but nobody else left. And the restaurant industry completely shut down. And this is on Maui Island. There was nobody there to work because everybody who was there, either illegally or legally, that had extended family, they took off to try to run, to go like consolidate themselves and get their families out of there. And it was just kind of a strange situation. But having that seen how an entire industry collapsed there for about a week until immigration left. And then people started to come back into work, to see that firsthand and then know what could be possible here. Is if they got to close the restaurant because you don't have enough people to come in and do all the functions there, from prepping out and dishwashing and, getting whatever it is. That's way different than not being able to get food on your plate, literally on your plate. So seeing it firsthand, I look at it in a way going, it's going to have to be a very fine line walked, because once everybody splits out of danger and they start being very afraid and they leave, it's going to be a long time until they come back in. And even if they're on the fields and they start coming through and you see a wave of like whatever they're going to call them to come in and grab people and get them out, once that first wave happens, those fields are going to be empty for months. Empty. I don't know if anybody will be there to plant. For sure won't be anybody there to harvest, because almost all that labor's not done by Americans as much, because the pay is low and the hours are long and it's hot and nobody wants to do that. So you work it out. Like, how much food will actually come to the table from California? That's the question. I don't have the answer, but I really see this could be a huge problem moving forward. Once they start rounding people up and all the workers just take off, and those are the ones that are maintaining the orchards, maintaining the gardens, maintaining, the farms themselves. Once that labor leaves, nature is very voracious. It just goes awry, and it's hard to whip back into shape again. Or if everything dies off in the field, you're gonna have to replant, and you're talking like weeks and weeks and months to get that back into some root. Even if you're doing just simple lettuce. Forget something that takes 3 months to bring to maturation. You're just talking about a 6-week turn on lettuce or something. Unless you're doing aquaponics and you're trying to grow it out in the field and get some easy lettuce like that, sheesh, it's going to be a nightmare. And the stores are going to go lean so fast, it is going to shock you. Because once the program starts, and whatever they term it, to get people out of the country, you're going to watch your supermarkets get dry in about 7 days after that announcement comes in. once they show on the news, people getting raided and all this stuff, people getting grabbed and all, your labor force is gone. And you're going to quickly see how quick we need to bring our food sovereignty and food growing back into our own homes, like we did in the 1940s victory gardens. I'll leave it there.
I think we need to rip the Band-Aid off. Anyway, I mean, how many, Generation Z and millennials, for that fact, are still sitting at home with mama? They're just sitting at home. They're collecting a check. I know the help is there for a good reason. In some places, you don't have to work for it, though. You can just get, right? So you can just get. Yeah. All of those people are potential workers. And besides that, I think the whole plan in the first place was to remove the human element from food production. And I've been looking at all of these AI pickers, weeders, planters, shakers, tillers, all of it. All of it can be done with machines and AI and a small American technician force if they wanted to. But I don't think they want to. So they want us to hurt. And when I say us, I mean people worldwide. It's so obvious that it's an attack from every angle on the human domain and their ability to eat freely off of the planet. That's always been the enemy since people were getting hunted down and killed for eating the king's deer. It's no different now. Yeah. And I think we are going to see a mass exodus, but I don't think it's going to hurt the fields that people keep saying. And even if it did, what is that to say about America, that we're so lazy, or as some put it, that, on the left, that we can't do it without the help, which is really extremely racist to say that people from south of the border only could fill janitorial jobs or, out in the field picking vegetables. Actually, most of the people that I've ever met that come from south of the border are like Americans used to be in, I would say, all the way up until the 80s, where they knew how to roof, they knew how to do electricity, they know how to do concrete, they know how to do plumbing, they know how to make stuff out of wood, they're carpenters, they know how to do drywall. They can build everything with 3 people. And that's where we as Americans should be, and we used to be, but I can't say that we really are today. But we may be forced into that situation, and I think it's a good thing. The problem is I don't think they really want the American worker to fill the niche. They want to close the vacuum, reduce production, and fill it full of top-down, just-in-time delivery systems that is mostly powered by AI workers, putting the profits completely and totally in the owner's, arena. So if you pay attention to what's happened since the pandemic, most full-time jobs have been cut to part-time hours. And I saw this coming years ahead of time, where companies would continually hire more employees for less hours each so that they don't have to pay them plus 40 a week, overtime, benefits, medical, dental, all of these things that these unions fought for. The answer to that was just pay them less, hire less people, less hours, less benefits. And that has destroyed the American workers' kind of want to get out there and earn the American, dream, as it is to own a house, have a family, a little bit of land. The ability to grow your own food is in that American dream, and they don't want that. So I don't know where we're going from here. I have been predicting for years that they would drop a couple of low-yield nukes to get everybody in a frenzy. And when you look at the headlines right now, bomb cyclone coming in from the West Coast. It's going to obliterate people with blizzards. It's just a terminology, the bomb cyclone. And then you got a homeless guy, supposedly it's going to set off a nuclear type device downtown. Come on. I
laugh at that one too. Like, what?
I think they're opening up the idea for one to go off, and they've been doing it for years. If you remember, Lindsey Graham used to really do the fear mongering about Iran's going to get a nuke together and they're going to blow it up off our coast. And then, you start putting North Carolina nuclear, these things together, and then you find out they've lost a nuke off the coast. Matter of fact, there was those ones from Minot that went to Texas. Nobody knew where they were going. They lost them. Did they ever find those? Who knows? So it's real easy right now for any faction around the world to commit a false flag right now. And by the time, the scientists say, hey, there's a signature on it, we know who did it, it's too late. They already have the fear machine in motion. Most countries would probably have martial law by then. Europe's already basically there. I mean, you can't, speak your mind on the internet without the midnight knock of the secret police, as George Bush famously said right before we sent
weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, but you remember how he was making our enemy sound bad by saying, hey, they might wake you up in the middle of the night with the secret police. So what do? We go over there, we knock down doors in the middle of the night and do the same thing. And now we have it at home. One could say there's plenty of political prisoners here. And overseas, people are going to jail for posts while actual criminals get released. And the whole stage is set to light a match, get everybody tribal, completely spread the shatter belt across Europe, have people pick sides, and there you go. We have World War III, and without any bomb being fired, the reduction of food will happen immediately because people will start hoarding. Countries will start thinking about themselves first. New trade deals will open up, and they'll say, no, we're not going to trade with you. Matter of fact, that's already happening. China is upset with us because we have a new trade deal in Southeast China Sea with different countries. So everything's a tinderbox right now. So we only have two choices from the future. Either they do the M.A.D, mutually assured destruction, but reduced. And we already know that they could pop off a bunch and life will go on as normal as far as the earth is concerned. Now, human activity is a different story. But I see more that it's more going to be a kinetic warfare between us, Russia, and China. And that's going to open up many job opportunities in the manufacturing sector, while China and the United States start to compete for how many robotic AI machines, drones, capable of launching warfare in the next, I'm going to say 5 years. That's what you're going to see. And that may be what all of these data centers are actually being created to power, is the massive intelligence infrastructure it would take to fight drone warfare. And what I mean is like what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine, but amped up times 1,000 when you get the major manufacturing centers involved in creating these small, deadly killing machines. And the Air Force has already started to go over to that because they can make an AI jet fighter aircraft for about $1 million versus $30-40 million a plane. So imagine how many of those they can mass produce in a short amount of time, and this time without all the Chinese microchips in it.
Yeah, I saw that video recently where there must have been 5,000 drones that went up into the sky and that created that hexagon pattern. I mean, if you're already at that level right today, and that's just drone operators, I can't imagine where it's going to go on the military sense when you're going to have, a full military apparatus directed toward that. That's going to be a scary day because it's just going to be one after the other, boom, boom, boom. And if they have little devices in them, they could just pound through a wall indefinitely until they get through anything. Cave walls, 10-foot thick concrete, it just won't matter because they're just continuously going to bang that hole there until it goes through. And then what happens after that? So Ryan sent me a couple comments here. Viv B, good evening. Frigid weather, Western Minnesota, first snow yesterday. Indiana snowing right now from 56 Robin. Birdhouse 456, exceptionally hot in Melbourne, Australia. So that's interesting. It's hot in one area, cold in the other. And Viv B sends another one here. Crazy story for you. Furnace stopped working last night during the storm, West Coast. Luckily, had a wood stove, saved us from temperature drop, wind chills 9 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Turns out a squirrel had dropped a message ends. Oh, a walnut into the furnace vent worked its way down into the furnace motor. Did auto safety shut off. Crazy thing says repairman sees all the time. And Taco Banana question: do you guys agree with Ben Davidson's early 2040s prediction of the micronova? Do you think we're getting super cheap land here in Colorado or Wyoming to escape the flooding one day? I'll have to say that kind of flooding that Ben refers to with the Adam and Eve story, you're not talking about a wave that's kind of creeping toward you. You're talking a continental size, 2,000, 3,000 foot high body of water after the planet stops rotation or is blasted with so much particulate off of the sun that it evaporates our ocean and sends it into a different direction. Like the last thing you're going to be thinking about is beachfront property if that cataclysm were to occur. If it were to occur, I would imagine there would be less than 10 million breeding pair humans on the planet. That would be a reset to the reset. 5 to 10 million surviving humans would all that would be left. I mean, you go through some of these stories, you know, Noah's Ark with the floods and things. That was, again, predicated on some sort of vapor event where water was coming from beneath the planet, above from the planet, and it is conjectured if it did slow rotation enough to then slosh an enormous amount of water. So what caused the water to come from beneath and not just shoot out of the crust, but geyser out of the crust miles high into the air? Something electromagnetic occurred during that time. Every single culture around the world talks about that. Are we into it for 2040s? Not sure, but if it is, I'll be enjoying the ride. Bitcoin to almost 100,000, $99,000. Q9X talks about, and Herbs, California, Casinim. Yeah, I watch how laborious picking strawberries is. I get you. You know, again, without the mechanized machinery, and this is the thing we lost too. And I agree with you, Ransom. Like coming back to we all used to have that work ethic. Like when I grew up, I was taught you go get a job when you're 16. You start working, you start paying for things, you start getting that discipline of going to work as a kid. We all had part-time jobs even when I was in high school. That was it. You had to. It wasn't like, yeah, there were a couple of kids that had wealthy families and they didn't because that was just the way they were brought up to be, whatever. But the rest of everybody we knew was like, they were all working and we all had part-time stuff, whether it was a weekend or you know, after school sometimes. That's kind of work ethic that got, you know, put into us until you're right at the end of the 80s there. And then it kind of stopped. But everybody had that work ethic. I'll go out and work in the yard. We'll go out and do something, whatever it takes until it gets finished. You're out with the grandparents when I was a kid. You know, it was hot, it was cold, whatever. It depends. It was summer or winter. We went out, we had to paint the house. We went out, we had to work with the garden. We went out, had to do stuff with the fish pond. You know, there was all kind of things to do, and it didn't get done until it was done. And that's the kind of work ethic that was, you know, kind of grew up with for an enormous amount of people. And again, we've gone away from that. Like everybody's so afraid to do any of the work these days. Like, you know, to bring that spirit back of, all right, this is part of it, working with your hands, working on the land, knowing these skills, but now everybody outsources everything. Oh, hey, we can call somebody. I remember I was over in Taiwan and somebody was, I was at somebody's house and they're like, oh, we need to call a repairman. And I was like, well, what's wrong? And they go, oh, we need him to change the light. And I go, oh, you need an electrical fixture? You getting something new? And they go, no, the light bulb's burned out. And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it. Take that, I'll change it for you. Like, unbelievable stuff. But anyway, here we go. 167,000 pounds of ground beef got recalled. E. coli scary. And you know what? This is like the 6th or 7th article I've seen in the last week of recalled produce. Getting ready to do a video just about an enormous amount of that. And one last thing here, Ransom, while I ramble. BlackRock has had its Aladdin AI bot doing their trading for years now. Of course they have. Herb Green sends this one is. How do you think that, and Aladdin's not just the only one, you know, the CME, almost every, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, almost everybody has bots trading. And They're at millisecond trades, taking 1/10,000th of a cent overage. So you, as a person trying to trade in on that market, when they're literally doing 100,000 trades a second or something on that kind of level of 1,000 trades a second, 10,000 trades a minute, you're trying to run with an AI that's coming in and out and dictating the market. It moves. It is a market maker, and it moves up when price reaches a certain, and then it just makes it fall and it'll go short. And it just does this all day long, literally millions of times on markets across the world per minute. And it harvests all that money out every single minute. Like you as a human trying to play in that field, yeah, you can catch some of the big moves. But when I talk about millisecond moves, I'm really talking about 1,000th of a second trade variances. And I've seen it go down as far down as 1/10,000th of a second move, where it really is only trading fractions of a penny. And some of the newest market makers are putting out there 18 decimal points down on what you can trade off of a penny. So think about the arbitrage opportunity, and this is where they get into it also. If you're able to get a better rate at somewhere around the 16th decimal going down, you can always control those last, say from 18, 17, 16, 15, like you control those last three. That's where the money is to be made consistently. It's not about making that money on the half cent. It's about making money on the 1/10,000th of a cent, 10,000 times a second. And this is where this Aladdin comes in. And it is, I knew some guys who were coding for a few trading houses, and the algos they were running were the ability for these things. It's outside human comprehension on how many calculations are occurring, just not only in the US markets, and cryptocurrency markets included. This wealth is being milked out of us by a computer system at a certain rate that we won't smash it to smithereens. It's enough constant rate, just like the Fed steals 2% of your money through inflation every year. But these trading bots running up and down pricing on companies and deciding winners and losers, and literally milking the world's wealth into the hands of a few. I would encourage everybody to read about Aladdin and how it trades and how it is capturing the world. It's not going to be too much longer until it literally controls all wealth on the planet. It's almost like if you believe the stories of Anunnaki coming back to collect all the gold into the repository and take it off planet or in inner planet, whatever you believe. Aladdin is its own thing, and they don't call it Aladdin for no reason. This thing is supernatural, interdimensional, borderline, godlike, if you believe in such a thing. It is a fictitious entity that could be termed as a fallen angel that has taken on mathematical properties to harvest human energy from birth to death. I'll leave it there, man. I might go a little bit too deep into it there, because knowing what I know about this system here, you're along for the ride. And as long as you're alive, and you will be from now, your energy will be harvested in this set of, and there's subsets of Aladdin as well. It's stripping the wealth and moving it into different arenas of control. Do you realize BlackRock, how many trillions of dollars they have under control? They control about half of the world's wealth right now. Half. Now that's a big statement to see. You're talking quadrillions of dollars, but a large 50% of that approximately is under the control of that, or is traded with that Aladdin system. And again, it's going into subsets as well. But those subsets are all feeding back in. So it's basically like a toroid loop. It's looping back in on itself. Okay, so the subsets are pulling the wealth out, and then it loops right back into BlackRock, and then it rolls back out and it loops right back in again. So again, I'm going to stop here. I got to let the dog run out of the So please take over for just a second. I got to get her out of the room.
All right. Let's see if I have Alzheimer's.
I can't explain Aladdin. It's so strange and so it's like a fallen. All I'm going to say is a fallen angel with mathematic precision.
Yeah, I could see that. Except for we kind of made that, so we asked for it, and a lot of people don't know. What is his name? Max Kaiser was talking about how he made so much money and that the entire stock exchange was ran by AI in 2010. I've been, listening to him for a long time, and he joked about it, and everybody was like, "No, that's not true." And he was like, "Yes, it is. I'm rich. Why are you arguing with me? I'm making money off it right now." And let's go to kindergarten science class though for a minute. I don't know about micronova, but there are some big burps off of the sun that could cause damage. And I hate to tell people there's not going to be this massive NOAA flooding. That was caused by something about 12,800 years ago that impacted into our enormous ice shelves, which was stored water on top of land. And it went into the ocean. The ocean rose about 400 feet. Now, the story about water coming up out of the ground, think about this. The entire crust of the earth is like a sponge. It has a bunch of holes, caves. It's very permeable. It's very porous. So if the ocean came up on the side of a continent 400 feet, the water level around the world would level out, which means that if you were in low-lying areas, water would just come up out of the ground from the aquifers being overfilled by the ocean rising. And that would explain most of those stories about water just coming from the ground. The ocean went up 400 feet. Now, you don't have to worry about that today because one ice cap is already in the ocean. And everybody knows that ice cubes, when they melt in a glass of water, the water level never changes. So that's not going to contribute to flooding. The only water stored on Earth right now that's possible to add to it is on the land in Antarctica, and it ain't unfreezing anytime soon. Even if the Earth got really hot, it would still be cold on the southern pole, holding most of that ice. The rest of the ice is in the ocean already, so it's not going to raise the water level. So there's only two things really that could cause massive flooding on a biblical scale everywhere. That's an impact in the ocean, which would put up lots of water into the air, or a volcanic event that is under the ocean, which there's many of them all throughout the Pacific coast. There's plenty of those that could do that. That could cause that. But as far as the Earth stopping, there's no evidence that it's ever happened. There's no evidence that it'll ever happen in the future. So that's kind of silly. So instead of buying a trailer court lot to support your favorite doomsday channel, you could just help us out by buying a coffee on the Buy Me a Coffee Civilization Cycle page there. I don't know. Was that too much of a... I didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but some of that is just fantastical, nonsensical nonsense about micronovas and frying the earth. We have supernovas and you have big flares, but I don't know about no micronovas. That's all funny to me. So if you want to move on a little trailer-sized lot in a doomsday cult right next to a prison in the middle of flatlands, Colorado, be my guest. But I don't think that's a good spot to go. I would head deep into the Rockies, or deep into the Appalachians, or deep into the Ozarks. Other than that, there ain't no place to go. You're muted. David, you're muted. Hello. I don't think you can hear me. What's going on? You can't hear me. I don't know why he's muted. He can't hear us talking about him. You're muted. We can't hear you. You guys look at my face until we sort this out. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I can't hear nothing, man. Let me... How about now? What is going on? All right, I'll take over then. Let's look through the news for a minute while we figure that muting issue out there. What do we got over here? I was going to talk about some of this stuff right here, which David was already bringing up. Is AI going to turn against us? Think about this. A lot of the nuclear defense is under the control of AI right now. So I hope that makes you sleep better tonight. Let's see if he's back. I still don't hear you. Oh my God. Let me see here. No, hear nothing. I think the CIA has intervened. You must have had something really important to say. Let's see here. Anyway, atmospheric river pummeling North Carolina northwest with flooding and rain. So I would prepare. Always prepare. Even if you don't think nothing's going to happen. So 80 million people could be expected traveling this Thanksgiving. And right in the middle of WW3 and all the other stuff going on, I would maybe leave early and arrive early to where you want to go. Because I don't think you're going to be doing much flying. And who knows about how many air zones are going to be shut off. Not only from this blast from the Pacific right here. Over 600,000 in Washington are expected to lose their power. Or no, they're just going to get pummeled by cold, tropical storm-like conditions, if that makes sense. Things are escalating in the Ukraine. You got a senior North Korean general wounded. Everybody's taking sides. And I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. What is this? Is it a fly? Is it an airplane? It looks like a blue orb flying through the New York skyline there. Was that a balloon? What was it? This is interesting, and I've noticed, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about, drone warfare. I think it's already happening. We have evidence that cartels use it for executions, for monitoring areas of land. So they're using it for logistics to get people in, people out, things in, things out. But not only just that, they're using it for killing machines, just like over in the Ukraine. And now police across the United States are starting to investigate drones flying over sensitive areas, over restricted spaces. This is becoming an increasing incident of drone involvement in places they shouldn't be. And I have a feeling that even here in America, we're going to see the first headlines of either people being assassinated, attacked, some kind of story about domestic or foreign terrorism involving drones. The FBI now supposedly arresting a guy, and he's charged with planning an attack on the New York Stock Exchange. So whether this is predictive programming or there's really people out there that are nutty or working as assets, you can expect things to get really interesting now that the proxy war in Ukraine has escalated to the degree it has. And people just really aren't getting what's happened. Russia fired a ballistic missile that had a MIRV in it, or excuse me, a hypersonic missile with a MIRV. The MIRV deployed, which in normal circumstances would be a nuclear warhead on each of those little small independent rockets so they can spread out. And the point to take away definitely is that no one stopped them. All of them hit the targets where they were supposed to hit, and it was faster than anyone could react. And then Russia launches their new missile, and U.S. provides more firewood for Ukraine with tactical weapons. And what was? Oh yeah, here it is. Just look at this, and keep in mind that each one of these flashes that hits the ground would be a nuclear bomb going off for each one of those that hits. Boom, boom, boom. There's 4, there's 8, there's 12, there's, on and on and on and on. Complete destruction in the area that they'll go to. And think about this. If just one nuke hits near Chernobyl, it'll crack the concrete cocoon that is keeping the nuclear reactor material from burning down into the water table, which will ruin Eastern Europe and separate Russia from Western Europe for a long time. No one will be able to use the groundwater around the Danube or any of that stuff for a long, long time. And supposedly, you're supposed to believe that this guy that can't stay awake, look at him, he's totally confused, is the guy that's deciding to push forward with World War III. Doesn't it just fit in so that later they can say, oh, it was just these old fools that had dementia? Or not. And weirdly, I don't know if this has anything to do with trends, but people from the U.S., or this guy anyway, faked his own death so he could run off to Eastern Europe. I think we're about to see a bunch of re-migration. And just to bring you down the depths just a little bit, and this is an example of how the media stacks headlines together to manipulate your emotional state, your mental state, and your physical state, because they're all interlaced and intertwined and depend on each other to be healthy. So world's saddest dolphin recorded talking to himself because he has no mates to talk to, and they didn't even give him a girly friend. So at least, she could talk to herself and he could try to swim to the next tank. Just kidding. I don't know what's happening with the technical stuff going on. Will we see Google break up? I doubt it. They're pushing that idea. So for all you guys that are worried about nuclear warfare, don't forget that both sides of the coin are trying to integrate you into this new technological system that's more manageable and more easy to manipulate you from all directions. A complete rewrite of your perception of reality. And even, our boy Elon Musk is still pushing this Neuralink idea, and other companies are going to pop up. And more companies are going to try to push this idea of the integration of the biological and the technological to basically completely imprison mankind into an artificial matrix that we just can't interpret as being fake and harmful. And it's coming from all sides. Here, let's see what's going on here. He's back, but I still can't hear him. Let's see here. Maybe. What is going on? Let's see the communications here. He's not muted. That's weird. All right.
Trying to integrate 5 different platforms into get us streaming here tonight.
I don't know. I hear you now.
Oh, you do? Perfect. Well,
weird.
3 minutes until the break. So please remember, come on over and join us, civilizationcycle.com. We'll get you the show notes of the ideas we've been talking about tonight, just in a quick bullet point fashion on a one-pager. That way, we've been running through a bunch of information, articles, things that we can talk about, start some different stories. We'll get you the one pager. And if you like this type of content, please support the program here. Buy us a double espresso so we can work late into the evening to continue to bring this type of information to you. We'll be back right after this short break here. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And it is going to be solutions for all of us coming together to share ideas, not just one single thing is going to work. We'll be right back after the break.
Listen at Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
It's unknown if early man knew they would be the progenitors of great civilizations, or if they knew when their empires would fall and disappear into history. Fortunately for us as modern man, we can recognize that we are at the precipice, a point in history where we can see the cycle changing. Where we go from here is up to us.
How do you feed your families when the shelves are empty, the stores are shut, and there's no food available? What is the fastest, easiest, and most productive foods to grow? What is the quickest way to get somebody who has no skills at all up and running and producing very quickly? If you understand that we're at a point in history where it is no longer optional to be growing your own food, if you're like really freaked out and concerned because you've never grown food before and you don't have any skills, you don't know how to do that, but you know how important it is, then I want to let you know, however you stumbled here, you're in the right place. My name is Marjorie Wildcraft. I'm the founder of the Grow Network, and I have been the female leader in the survival and preparedness space for the last 20 years.
How to grow lots of food, even if you have no experience, are older and out of shape. This is for people who want the fastest and easiest ways to produce healthy and delicious meat, eggs, and vegetables. Because you know that growing your own food is like printing your own money. During this webinar, you will get status of global food shortages, how long the crisis will last, how much space you need to grow food, easiest, highest calorie foods you can produce, a complete plan for producing all the food you need, how to get started today, regardless of season. Marjorie will show you the fastest, easiest, and simplest ways to produce calories and nutrition, especially in a crisis and/or grid-down situation. The assumption is that you have no experience and you need to start producing food immediately. The most popular part of the webinar is the Q&A session at the end. So please come prepared with your questions.
Pro Clear Cleanse is the most powerful spray cleaner on the market today. No elbow grease necessary. Pro Clear Cleanse cuts through grease and grime like a chef's knife. Finally, the one cleaner that can do it all. Powerful surfactant cleaning technology cleans ovens, glass, porcelain, even polished wood. Environmentally friendly, less packaging and waste with no harsh smells, pet safe, child safe. 5 tablets equals 1 bottle of traditional cleaner. It's 5 months of cleaning for a fraction of the cost. Behold the grease-erasing power of Odor Crush. Simply drop a tablet into your bottle of warm water and shake it so it is evenly diluted. Spray the surface you want cleaned. Let set longer for tougher grease. Take a paper towel or a reusable cloth and wipe. Done and done.
Howdy, partner. You know people are having dinner and the smart ones are eating beef. Let me tell you a brief history, or more accurately, a beef history of dinner. Domestication of cattle happened around 8000 BC, but that's not when beef became what's for dinner. We've been eating beef since times before history. The earliest cave paintings have beef eloquently depicted on the walls. Those cave drawings of the hunt were for the aurochs, a primitive bovine. That's right, beef. Like I said, people are having dinner now, and the smart ones, well, they're eating beef.
Ransom, do you see me here? Oh, there I am. Whoa, back on the big screen. Yeah, wow, exciting, times that we're living in here. Now, you can almost see where this trajectory is going. Not on an exact day at an exact time, but you can get the general trend. I think we've been doing a pretty decent job at that of, looking out at where just around the corner it's going to go. Kind of like driving a car. Your situational awareness is around there. You see some things there. The road's going to go to the right. There's a lot of, factors showing you. There's bright road signs with arrows. Hey, we're going that way. Lines on the road. If you look down, you can see you're going to turn that way. A lot of people are oblivious to the signs that are all around us. Nature's giving us signs. The government's giving us signs. Economy's giving us signs. People around you behaving strangely are giving you signs. The birds, the whale strandings, everything is giving you a sign that, well, there's massive change happening right now. Now, would you just sit idly by and go, oh, whatever, I'll just go to the supermarket. Hopefully there'll be some food there when I get there. But most people don't even think like that. It's just like they go and they're like, where'd all the food go? We see it time and time again in, these hurricane situations. But what happened with this West Coast storm, this arc storm, I'm curious how many people did not prepare, even though they told everybody there's going to be big snow, thick snow, 17 to 20 inches. Power's going to go out. Category 3 hurricane winds. Probably hundreds of thousands of trees down. I've seen some incredible videos of very tall trees, 100-foot plus, just knocking down like matchsticks, and you get to see their lines just dangling and shaking in the air. That's going to be a very long time to clean up. Now, would you be prepared for no electricity in the middle of winter, not being able to get out? You're going to get snowed in. And if the snow keeps coming, that's not going to be melting off until, well, when we come into the springtime. So when you start to look at some of these, factors that are way outside the norm, standard deviations way above, percentages far above anything that was seen or, encountered before, how prepared are you for the unprepared scenarios? Because we could sit here and we're lucky in Tennessee, it'll usually warm back up enough, even in the winter, in the middle of the day at some periods with the warmth and the sun. It's not going to snow you in for the whole season. But some places I saw, there was an area, I forget how you say it, Siskiyou, Northern California. They had the big wildfires there a little bit earlier. Now they had just massive, incredible snows, Northern California. They're not going to be able to get out of there because that place routinely snows in for the winter anyway. And now that they got such early, heavy, deep snows, it's going to stick for the whole season now. So as we move forward, these types of monumental, just gigantic storms outside anything we've ever seen before are the new norm. Across the planet routinely now, we're seeing 6 months or a year worth of rain in a single storm in a single day or hours. That is the new normal. If you want to talk about the new normal, we're never going back to normal. You knew they lied to us. We were never going back to the normal. It was all a reset, part of it, compliance exercise. So how prepared are you for these extremes of storms? I mean, I'm pretty ready. I mean, as ready as I can be. And then we've got some neighbors and, between a bunch of people helping each other, it could get done. But what if you don't even know your neighbors? What if you know 0 neighbors and all your stores are closed? Then what? Well, you're going to be thinking about life in a little bit different situation. So again, Revolution Radio, thank you for letting us talk about these issues tonight here. If you consider free speech something of value, which it's becoming valuable, consider a donation right here, revolution.radio. Check out that navigation bar, see many ways you can donate. Cryptocurrency is one way. And speaking of crypto, the bull runs are running. I don't want to get too deep into no financial advice here, my friends. This is not financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. This is looking at past cycles. And when we do, and we see the bull runs after the halvings of the Bitcoin, generally it had a cycle to it anyway, but now with all the real money coming in. And when I say that, I'm talking about companies, institutions, governments, private offices, sovereign wealth funds, all starting to accrue this thing called Bitcoin to put into their savings permanently now. the at least values that I've seen through and I look at Max Kaiser too, and I love he makes me laugh when I watch this guy. Kaiser, he's eloquent when he speaks. He's really intelligent, like hyper intelligent, but he's funny too, So I get a lot out of his videos. And he was saying somewhere 10 million Bitcoin around 2032-ish. Michael Saylor comes out and says 13 million. So, now we're starting to get a couple very knowledgeable people. And now the rest of the crew is starting to follow along going, yeah, Bitcoin's going to be over 10 million per coin in the early 2030s. And then once the final mining supply is finished, then it just starts to become a store of value for countries at that point. So if you're looking for a new gold standard, people are saying, well, how are they going to reset the currency? Well, there's a new value class that just kind of got scooped up, like an asteroid of solid gold just got pulled out of space and put on the planet. That's kind of what this cryptocurrency thing is. It's a new asset class, never existed before, but suddenly there's a huge amount of value into it. And this $3 trillion market cap is probably going to go somewhere at least way over 9 trillion by the end of this bull market, and probably further, just depending on how much more institutional money comes in, or like banks and, stock market. A huge amount of fund managers are pushing it into their, you can get it in the 401ks now. You can put it in as a percentage of retirement savings. It's becoming its own behemoth economically. We just cracked at 99,000 here for Bitcoin. As soon as it hits 100, everybody on the planet's going to know it. And then at that point, that fear of missing out, that FOMO thing, is going to take off like a scalded dog. From an old saying out of the early days. And the reason I bring that up here is this one article, the title, for those of you that want to look it up yourself, setting up a crash. Federal Reserve pulls more than half of the credit available through the Bank Term Funding Program, the BTFP. Now, for those unfamiliar, banks need loans too, if you didn't know that. They don't have enough operating capital at times either. So what our Federal Reserve does is lend them the money, usually short term, 1 to 3 days. And that'll get them through their available credit crunch. And this happens all the time. Now, I want to bring you back at a point in history here, and I want to try to put these two together. In 2019, before COVID started, they were pushing in something like almost $1 trillion a night to keep our banks from failing. And here we are very close again. And the Federal Reserve just pulled half of the available funding for their Bank Term Funding Program. Like, it's almost causing the crash to occur on purpose. So how do you take liquidity away from banks that need that? And you're taking all the liquidity away from all the banks that are needing it to stay afloat through the evenings, which makes no sense unless it's purposeful and they want to crash the system. Now, the reason I'll tell you that is if they want to crash the system, it means they want to bring about a new system after the old one is finished. That's where we're going with this. You think this whole cryptocurrency thing evolving as it is now? Well, finally, the technology's caught up enough, and all these players are on the XRP protocol with their on-demand liquidity, that all the sovereigns are in on it. When I say sovereigns, I'm talking about nations that, like, say, the Middle East, for example. The M.A.D protocol has been running. For the Bank for International Settlements just let M.A.D run wild. It's off the reservation. It is free to go where it wants to. That's a combination of China, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and there's one other one. 5 nations that are trading amongst themselves, outside dollar, all settling amongst themselves. Now, this is running on XRP. So as we start to see these different liquidity pools come in and the instant settlements, distributed ledger technology is going to be a thing you will remember for the rest of your life. DLT, this is going to reshape our world. Every bank is going to start using this. All financial institutions are moving and gravitating toward this. But distributed ledger technology it's all on the blockchain. Everything is moving. Like the old system you knew is already gone pretty much. They're just trying to get us into this phase where it collapses and they just bring it out. It's already ready to go everywhere. Literally on the planet, it's ready to go everywhere. But how do you get people to move away from an old system and bring a new one that has a completely different value to it? And for those of you that are holding on dollars and be like, well, I have $1 million. Not after the reset, you don't. It's probably going to be 1,000 to 1 on the reset or 100 to 1 at best. And the price of gold will be revalued in a total global sense. So looking out at dollars won't even be a measure of things as much like we try to price things in dollars. You're going to be pricing them in Satoshis, or the price of Bitcoin against something else, or XRP against something else, or the price of gold against Bitcoin or Satoshis. Like this thing, the way we measure dollars is going to be done away with after this crash. We are coming to an entirely new system. And that's what I see evolving. Once Bitcoin hits 100,000 and they get more people aware, they need the global awareness of at least what blockchain is. Once they reach that, with the person in the middle of the Amazon jungle goes, hey, can I use your phone? I want to download the Bitcoin app. Once we're there, we're getting close. Once the Bitcoin gets above 100,000 and then it gets to 250,000, way less than, I would say less than a year, because most people are calling market top for this halving cycle somewhere around September to October of 2025. The crash as we know it will occur between then and now. As these prices get up and the awareness goes out and all these people are starting to get ready and FOMOing and getting ready to understand crypto, and they get it, and then all of a sudden the system crashes, they'll have already heard an inkling of it. So yeah, that's great. We can move to this new system. But anyway, welcome back for the second hour. I know, Ransom, sometimes I just gobble up the time there. I'm a time hog on the beginning of the hour. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, Ransom Godwin joining us back here again.
I was just wondering, could we get to a point where someone's thinking, well, I got this chunk of silver. Is it more valuable than this 1987 can of green beans that I blew the dust off from my grandma's cupboard? Is it still good?
Depends if there's mold in it or not that's visible.
No, I'm kidding. But when you look at the trends right here, this is more to what I was talking about the future of jobs in America. Auto worker wipeout. Why car companies are cutting thousands of jobs? Because they don't need them. They have AI, they have machines to build the products for you to buy. But the question is,
Ransom, I'm going to dovetail and say there's going to be way less demand for it as the economy crashes. Nobody's going to be buying cars. It's going to be too expensive. They're going to go through a reset period.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. How can you buy these products without the jobs to support it, right? And then if you want to really look where things are going right here, firearm suppressor demand explodes at historic rates. Now, I wonder why so many people would be wanting to buy suppressors. I mean, I just can't figure that out. You think it might have something to do with the near future where the Pentagon fails its 7th audit in a row. But don't worry, they're going to clean up all this money and where it went and figure it out by 2028. So don't worry. They'll have that all, shaped up by the next presidential election. Isn't that convenient?
I remember there was some lost money back in 2001 in September sometime. Wasn't that also correct?
Right. It was like $2.7 trillion. But just recently, they said they lost 4.8 or something like that trillion dollars. So there's double the cover-up coming. I mean, think about that, or quadruple the cover-up. Where's all this DOD money being spent? We can kind of see it in the proxy wars. And then FEMA kind of told on themselves when they ran out of money that they're using all that money for alternate programs. We'll just put it that way so we don't get in trouble. But the whole thing, here's another one, like the trade, the Intel sharing community is now making new deals. Here's one. China fumes as U.S. Philippines sign new intelligence and sharing and defense deal. So this is more of that drawing the lines out. Which side are you going to be on? And then if money...
Oh, they're so fuming. They're so fuming. They're so angry.
Yeah, well, once we kind of get in the situation where there's a limited amount of resources and products, that's when I think they'll end the paper dollar. They'll end it, and you'll have to be part of these. I mean, they've been trying it for years with like sneaking it in there with the, you want to be part of our sales club. You know, like when you go to Home Depot, they want you to get on their card. They want you to get into your credit. They want to know who you are, how much money you have. And then they have these, you know, all of these super saver things. And all of that was just a beta to get your data so that in the future they'll know who you are, what you buy, and where you can buy it. And as we've seen in the last 4 years, that may depend on the political win, whether or not you get to participate in the economy or not. It's getting really crazy. Is that a low T
beta male?
Do what?
Is that a low T beta male?
Well, they're still going to keep those soy stocks up. Somebody's got to protect each little stock. So there's a market for the soybean. I'm not in it, but you know, some people need that. So what is going to happen once the kinetic wars actually get going? Because what we've seen is basically a tit for tat escalation using missiles, basically with no warheads. If you've been watching Iran, Israel, Lebanon, Gaza, it's a whole bunch of rockets, a whole bunch of missiles, but only one group is actually dropping warheads that do damage. The other groups are kind of just saying,
I know, but
we can send them, but we just need something to put in the tips of them. Where are they going to get that?
Walking the thin line, walking the red line.
I was watching this stuff earlier about, you know, where the not only where the missiles would hit, but what they have. And they have enough to demolish every city, but when you realize how small of a surface area compared to the rest of the earth is, it's very easy to see that they could just move away and wait. And everything from like oil spills to nuclear blasts seem to go away pretty fast. I mean, think about all the ones we've blown up, and then think about stuff like the Exxon Valdez, all the way to the more recent one in 2011 that spilled all over the coast, in the Gulf Coast. One hurricane later, it was gone. It's totally dissolved into the ecosphere of the world.
Yeah, nature's easy and cleansing like that. It's a regenerative system that we live on here. It's not a one-time and it's damaged forever system. If you've seen what a volcano does or what a hurricane does, what kind of damage natural storms can do, it is far beyond your wildest imagination of how much damage the planet does on its own. You know, it's not like we're the ones that have caused continents to shift or to bury something in 30 feet of mud or ash or wipe. And you know, you saw the Mount St. Helens volcano. That was an entire mountain that shifted. Like, how much human time and how many machines as humans would we have had to use to make Mount St. Helens move that much? Because you look at it, and in just that one single day, the entire mountain shifted and moved over to the, you know, to the side. You got to think about, you know, humanity is not primed for any such thing like that. And so I'm just sending a couple charts here. I think people might be interested in the possibilities of where this takes us. Now, a couple more comments here. Viv B writing me back says, there's always that comet, Apophis, supposed to be a near miss to Earth 2029. And yeah, Ransom, I'll let you go with this. I got to grab this call here, okay?
All right.
I'll be right off. I'll be right back.
Change my picture here.
All right.
I wanted to show everybody this picture. This is a picture of Sierra Blanca, where I live. And in there, you see snow on the top. back in the late 80s, early 90s, the teachers at my high school would tell me that this would be a thing in the past by the late 90s. And then, then they started saying by 2013 or something. Well, that is snow on a mountain named Sierra Blanca that has been the only source of water and an ecosystem in this 500 square mile area where I live, which is located in the Chihuahuan Desert. And that right there is snow from recently. Just the other day, it snowed on there again. So this whole concept that we wouldn't see snow-capped mountains, even out here in the middle of the desert, was completely false, was completely a hoax. And now look at it. And, there's mountains like this all over the world that are getting snowfall in which they said wouldn't exist later. But there it is. It sure does exist right there. Uh-oh. Did I do it again? There we go. Anyway, I guys wanted to show you this before we run off. All kinds of shakeups going. This one, where is it? Right here. Pentagon fails 7th audit in a row. And then you have people threatening to get rid of certain job titles. People worried about getting court-martialed. Why would they worry about getting court-martialed unless there's been a lot of funny business going on for the last 275 years of our country? It's very humorous to act like any group that's been in there hasn't been doing things to set up the events that we're seeing today. And I think all the players are participating around the world. This was a demonstration by Russia that if we did go to nuclear war, there would definitely be no winners, and no one could stop them sending these over. They're just not going to happen. They're too fast, too many of them, and it's impossible. So this tells me that they are not going to have a full-scale nuclear war. It's just defeats the purpose of trying to run a world. Unless they have some very next-level breakaway civilization technology to hide them or to prolong their existence until things straighten out, I have faith that there will be no nuclear holocaust for the wider world. Now, whether or not they'll drop a couple bombs in strategic places, because I brought this up many times. There's an author that wrote a book called Strategic Relocation. I think his name is Joel Skousen. And he talks about how there's kind of a deal for a kinetic warfare to happen between us, Russia, and China, and that at some point they would be allowed to trade nuclear targets with us, a limited nuclear exchange, to bring the world into the new world order that they picture. And also that after this, the U.S., Russia, and China would probably break out their next level technology. But I don't think they're going to do that. We're going to see a long, bloody, robotic warfare. Now, whether it goes to Terminator status, I guess it's up to them. Release the bots. Let me see here. I got a message and another one. All right. Are you there, David? Nope. All right. We'll just move on. Chilling new threat. ICBM, the new type of weapon. It's not really new. We've been hearing about it for several years now. Hypersonic, which puts us, into the instant annihilation game with zero sum, I guess, right? Because nobody wins. But what's funny to me is watching the Shatterbelt situation going on. We have Poland, Italy, Germany, several other countries now second guessing their role as a NATO location because, well, they would be first strike. They would be the people that get the brunt of any real warfare that we would have with Russia. And you notice that at the same time this was going on in Europe, in the Middle East, they were exchanging warfare as well. So it's getting quite interesting, to say the least. And if you guys were wondering, here's what the first ever picture of a star outside of our galaxy looks like. It's a computer-generated smudge of an orange spot. It's kind of like a micronova. You can't really, put your finger on it, but there's something off. This might be good news for America if you guys just want to go down the road of legalization of different mind-altering compounds to pacify you in this great reset. You have, places wanting to legalize psychedelics for mushroom to acid, and an ever-increasing legalization of marijuana to help keep the population in a lethargic state. But just in time, because they might be taking the fluoride out of the water. So if you're a leftist, you might need to stock up on the fluoride if you want to fluoridate yourself. That's where it's going. And then robots are definitely taking over all of the good jobs. Look at that. They're showing these auto workers. But if you've seen their manufacturing plant, it's a dangerous place for humans to be. And matter of fact, there's so many, probably millions of videos of Chinese, and some of them in Taiwan, and some of them in the Philippines, and some of them in India, where people prove that they don't belong in the middle of automated machinery. And I'm talking about some really gruesome videos of people getting stuck in the machinery where they shouldn't be located, in my opinion. I mean, it's about to be a hazardous workplace for humans. And in that, isn't that really AI systems turning against humans? Not in a warfare type of way, but in a replacement type of way. They're not going to replace, all the jobs, just the managing jobs, the human resource jobs, customer service jobs, manufacturing, food, especially fast food, and groceries. So you can have your just-in-time lifestyle and pay for it all online and just pick it up at their distribution centers, or have, little robots deliver it to your house. But considering how many people rob packages, I think you're going to have to go and protect yourself at the large distribution centers, where you will have to be part of the club. You'll have to be pre-screened, just like they do at the airports. When you go there, you can get pre-screened and get through the security real fast. It'll be just like that. But at the supermarket, at the other merchandising stores for clothes, electronics, all of that stuff, you're not going to be able to shop through the store for much longer. And the whole group is moving over to this. Plus, massive layoffs are coming. So all of this is all kind of coming to a head in the same years. And I kind of predicted that no matter what Trump tries to do, there is a big machine working against America having energy independence, the Second Amendment, free speech, private ownership of land, and the production of food from oneself and one's own private property. So we're in a world of hurt. Where's it going to go? I don't know. Probably really, really expensive if it's not already. So we'll get to see if I predict that the prices go down and then they all go back up. And it won't be, like always, it won't be my fault. It won't be our fault. It's just because of this, that, or the other thing is why your prices are going up. But there's no arguing that the majority of the Western world is trying to shut down production of homegrown food, basically, or ranch or farming in the semi-industrial fashion, where the citizen still is in control over their land and the process in which they cultivate. And that's all coming to an end right now. And don't forget to check out Buy Me a Coffee /Civilization Cycle and sign up for our show notes. And we'll send you kind of the points and some things we can't relay over social medias in fear of being restricted in our reach to talk to people. So let's go to the chat room and check out what's shaking out there. So over in the Mountain High Time, you guys look like you're having a blast. Any questions since I'm asking? Or I'm also monitoring Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast. So thanks for joining us over there. And we're also on Mountain High Time, American 4K, the Raven Wolf channel. We're on Civilization Cycle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and various other Twitter pages, and Twitch, I believe, and 2 Rumbles are broadcasting tonight. So it's working out to have this multi-streaming platform so we could talk to lots of people on different platforms. And maybe you could go over to the other chat rooms, meet some new people, expand your network, and, be more prepared. It's a lot easier when you kind of feel the network and all of the new things people learn. You get to learn those immediately with them. Ukraine takes notice, and the rest of the world also. I would hope so. It's a lot to show killing too sad stuff. Wow, that was weird there. Why is Civilization Cycle not a moderator? Let's make him a moderator. I'm on the wrong. Let me sign in. You think DuByne got the call to go to his bug out location? Just kidding. Hope not. Let's see here. Let's make Civilization Cycle a moderator. There it is. Sweet. Let's go check over on Rumble. What you guys got to say? White Sands is by Alamogordo. That's right. I live in Alamogordo. That's right where I'm at. Ground Zero. One of the first strike spots there. It's lovely to think about that, especially when we get sonic booms daily, scaring the living daylights out of you, despite, 40 years living in a place or more. Let's see. Do you live by the Sands National Monument? Yes, I live about 5 miles or 6 miles, I think, from White Sands National Monument. Let me check over here. That's in the Rumble crowd. Oh, yeah, we got some people over on my channel on Rumble too. What's up, DC Camp? Sweet. So you guys should switch over in the chats and meet like-minded new people. Kind of the big group across several platforms, all receiving our message at the same time. It doesn't matter if the world takes notice because they have their plans. That is true, but they still need you to support and pay for it for the most part. We're still at that stage. So if you can control your government locally, then there's a shot at controlling it on a broader scale. And I think that's what they're really afraid of, is peace-minded, small government type people taking office in their local area, because that puts a big wrench in their tyrannical systems and their plans. Because in the past, we've had local municipalities sign on to these programs like Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030, and things like that. And they work against the people, even in the local area. So you need to figure out if those types of programs are being supported by your local politicians and either vote them out or replace them, if that's still a thing. I don't know. I think the government. There he is. Let's see here.
Covering them there for me for a minute, Ransom. And Taco Banana says, and back to the comments here. I was trying to jump on those. I got to reframe my head here. Taco Banana says, anyway, if I eat Taco Bell for 300 days in a row, do you think I'll become smarter and evolve into another type of new hominid species? I don't know, Ransom, what do you think? I think 300 days at Taco Bell, you might have something else growing out of you. You might become a new species. Remember that? What was that show? Super Size Me. That was that movie, Super Size Me. Remember that one?
Yeah. I wouldn't do it. I advise against it.
I think he's got permanent liver damage or something, that guy.
You turn into some kind of Cronenberg.
Yeah, but what would happen if you ate Taco Bell for 300 days? Like, really, what do you think would happen to your body? Because I know I get the runs after I eat that. And that's personal attestment. I would put it on Yelp or anything as my own personal comment. I haven't touched Taco Bell in probably like 25 years. But back then, I would say that when I would eat Taco Bell, it would definitely loosen my bowels. And that was 25 years ago. I don't even know what's in the food today. It scares me to even think of it.
That's your body telling you something. Because, if you eat fast food all the time, you get used to it. And then when you eat healthy food, you have intestinal problems. And it's the same way vice versa. If you eat healthy mostly, you eat some of that junk and your body's like, what the F is that?
Yeah, I need some rice to plug that thing back up there. Unknown vector. Control the food and you control the people. Henry Kissinger.
Yep.
Absolutely. And again, I really believe we're going down that direction, that the control of food is going to be the ultimate weapon to get you to absolutely agree to a new financial system. And all the things that will be intertwined in terms of that. You'll have your digital rationing card. You'll have your digital ID. You'll probably have your allotment of something, because I've seen several a story coming from the UK where they're going into supermarkets and they're not allowed to buy the products they want to, where they say that you've gone over your limit of a certain product. Okay, well, who's keeping track of limits on products? I didn't know there was such a thing as like limits, but this is being enforced now when you go to check out in supermarkets in the UK. Many, many, many stories around there. It's not even like the first time. It's actually becoming a thing now. So control the food, control the populace. And I guarantee you, not being nefarious or anything, but if I starve you and your kids for 4 days or 5 days, you will do anything I ask without question. And now do it to a global populace and get them to accept a new monetary system with new rules, new regulations, new stipulations, new limits. And I do believe that's where we're going. And then H. Johnson 8225 says, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, otherwise known as the FDIC, can only cover 1.7 of total deposits. And this is such an important point here, because everybody out there right now listening, you might think that your money is safe in the bank because you see that sign on the door that says FDI insured. Only 1.7% of all the deposits in America are insured. If there is a bank failure, truly a bank failure and a run on the bank, only 1.7% of all the deposits in America will be covered by that insurance program. The rest of it, the other 98% will be poof, gone. Now, perhaps, see, this will be the bait and switch too. 98% gone, poof, but we know that you got that loss there. We couldn't cover it with the current program, but with the new whatever unit, token / widget, we can get you 100 to 1 on the old widgets. We'll give you a new one and we'll plug you into the new system. And you're like, yeah, thank you. I got something better than nothing. I bet they might even be generous and do a 20 to 1 or a 10 to 1 just to get you into the new system, because you will be begging on your knees to get your money back. Because people have worked their whole life for this stuff called money. And what if you lose 98% of it? What would you do to get, instead of a 98% loss, to only have a 50% loss? You'd be kissing the ring. Oh, thank you for getting my 50% of their 48% extra out of my money back. Thank you so much. Like, these are the things that are in the cards. And if you're not positioned properly, you know, you can probably go through a handful of things that are going to be unaffected if the currency collapses. Foodstuffs, tools. I mean, shoot, Ransom, we run through the whole list all the time here. Salt, vinegar, any kind of things, water, storable, water filters. You know, there's a million things to think of. I got chickens, okay. If the FDIC fails tomorrow, my chickens are still living out there. They can wild forage. I can go pick them a bunch of berries off the, you know, different parts of the property and bring it back to them and whatever. I got enough food to keep my calories going for a little while, to keep my animals going too. So, you know, this misnomer of all the money's covered. So if the banks fail, there'll be no problem in America. Well, you know what? That is completely fictitious. I will call it out for what it is. Now, you've heard the same thing, Ransom. What do you think about the 1.7% of FDIC total coverage? I mean, how would that rock the psyche of the American populace, and how would that break the actual will of the people to know that they lost completely everything? And by the way, no, it's not insured. That would reset our nation, and they would beg for anything to replace it.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. But as we saw kind of going on in North Carolina, there's
That's a travesty.
They have all those FEMA trailers just sitting there empty, just like Katrina. And there's rumors of government intervention into childcare. I don't want to get too much on that topic, but if you've been paying attention to the airwaves, the government is inserting theirself into families because they no longer have homes. Well, there's all of this money that was supposed to be allocated for emergencies. It didn't go there. And just like we said before it happened, those poor people are on their own, other than their local community that kind of came together and helped them on horseback, on donkeys, on pack mules, people bringing their own wealth in there. That's what saved the people that got saved. That's still what's saving the people that are there. And then think about this. We have Trump talking about capping, 10% APR on credit versus like the 29% or 30% that they offer people. So, if you really believe that to happen right now, you wouldn't take any of those offers from the credit companies right now. I mean, why would you? If they're going to be forced to use 10% APR in the future. Not that I think that will actually happen, but imagine if it did. Why would I sit at home and go, oh, Capital One, 29% APR. I need to borrow $2,000 or $10,000. Sure. All of the credit card debt is skyrocketing right now. So a lot of the population is in debt now. Imagine how it'll be when they're really struggling to use that credit, money, resources for food and utilities only. Almost got there.
They'll be cut off. They'll be cut off at that point. The credit cards won't function at that point.
Right. So it won't matter if you have only 10% APR. There won't be any credit to give out.
That's true. Now, let me run on to the point here. Go Team 21A says, perhaps think about the ISO 20022 compliant cryptocurrency tokens that are going to be used in the new central bank digital currency system. Global international transactions. By the way, I have a list here. I had already looked at this years ago and seen which ones, because a couple of years ago, these things were just pennies to pick up. Like XRP was 25 cents. Today it's at $1.25 or $1.30. It's running. Okay, so I'm going to give you the list here. Not financial advice. Stellar was 10 cents and now it's at around 30 cents just now. So XRP Ripple, this is going to be one of the number one. They've already let the cat out of the bag that this one is going to be used for global settlements. on-demand liquidity, but they're also going to be using XRP as settlement itself as coinage. Stellar Lumens, XLM, that was a hard fork from Ripple anyway. So Cardano is a decentralized proof of stake. Quant, this is interesting one. This is the center of the center that allows everything from DLT to operate itself. So if you're looking away, like there's something called an overledger on that, but Quant is, if you're looking at a diagram of this new ecosystem, the center of the center of the center is Hashgraph and Quant. Everything else spurs off from that, like you would look at spokes of a wheel coming off a center of like a bicycle wheel. Oh yeah, that chart's great there. Look at that. Somebody bought Bitcoin at bought 1,000 Bitcoin at 6 cents. 6 cents, and now they just sold it all for 90,000. If they would have waited, they could have got extra 10 grand. They could have, had an extra 10 million if they would have waited just a few days. They exited at 90,000, but they could have exited at 100,000 3 days later. But that's just the way the Bitcoin crumbles. That's the way the Satoshis crumble. Algorand, that's going to be another one. Hedera Hashgraph. Again, Hashgraph is what they're ultimately moving to after blockchain. So you're all hearing about blockchain right now, blockchain. Well, that's the intermediary step. Hashgraph is where they actually want to move it to at the end of this. So we're in the transition phase anyway. So if you're looking at the way the financial system is going to be crushed, crashed, smashed and spun like a scrambled egg, that's just the beginning. Once they move us into this blockchain cryptocurrency system, that's fine, but that's just the intermediary step to move everything over to Hashgraph. And then you're into the quadrillions of computations per second once we get into that whole arena there. And that's where the whole Aladdin and Hashgraph meet in the middle, along with your smart dust and the Internet of Things. That's where that takes us in about 10 to 12 years, approximately, with the speed of everything rolling out and the exponential increases in technologies. And Hashgraph is it. We're moving to Hashgraph at the end. The blockchain is the middle step. So familiarize yourself with it, understand it is going to be the future until it's not, and we move to Hashgraph. There'll still be some leftover remnants, but a majority of it will move. IOTA's another, there we go, IOTA, Internet of Things. This is going to be all, if anybody is familiar with like smart dust and sort of thing, is this really what the 5G networks are out there for, is this real-time monitoring of the space, for a better term. IOTA is it. And then XDC, I haven't seen this one move very much. I've been checking out the charts on this one, but maybe it will in the future. I mean, I know R3 out of Singapore. I knew a few of those guys back in the day, and that's a private blockchain. It's not public. You can't trade that one, R3. There's a couple other private ones out there too. But again, I'll go through them. XDC Network, IOTA, Hashgraph, Algorand, Quant, Cardano, Stellar Lumens, and Ripple XRP. Those are the only ones on that list. And these are the ones, they have to be ISO 20022 compliant for governments and institutions to be able to operate and put funds into those, because there has to be a certain compliance standard to it. It has to pass a certain amount of metrics for that to be deemed safe for investment. These are the only ones that fit the bill. So we got a couple quadrillion dollars they're going to move from the old system into the new system. Not financial advice, but Stellar Lumens will be the stuff that you're going to use to buy like a pack of gum in the store. That was originally the intent of that one. Beyond lightning fast, like faster than any credit card transactions that we have today. I mean, you don't see the speed of it when you insert your card or tap it. There's a little bit of delay there. That's why you have to wait there and go, okay, oh, cleared. This thing is instant. Whoop, okay, you're done. That's what Stellar is for, and it's for small purchases. It's not going to be for buying a house or anything. It's going to be for daily purchases. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll show you. And thank you for throwing up a couple of those graphs while I was talking, but that was it. So Go Team 21A, thanks for the ISO 2200. And that's it. I mean, the world is absolutely shifting beneath our feet here, and they're going to use food to drag you into this new world, whether you like it or not. So it's better, just in my opinion, that you would understand it before you get dragged into it. Just saying. It's like if you're going to go travel to a new country, you generally want to do a little research about the customs, the food, the mannerisms, the do's and don'ts of a country, this kind of thing. Oh, where do you change money? Where do you get a SIM card? All this kind of stuff. That's what you would do for research before you go travel. But understand, we're traveling to a new financial system, so you might want to do a little bit of research on it. Anyway, man, that's it. Thanks, Ransom. Please buy us a coffee, buy us a double espresso, and hit us up at civilizationcycle.com. Toss your email in there, and we will get you the show notes. Ransom, take us out.
Get prepared for the storm if you're on the West Coast. If it's too late.
Too late, man. Too late. Oh, thanks for the government warning. You're about 2 days too late.
That's why I was joking. But, every time we mention this, right as soon as some kind of natural event is going to happen, that there's like 40% or more of the people that get caught off guard. And it tells you, although maybe our community may be, right on the newsy and getting updates about every topic every second, there are plenty of people out there that get their news from Antenna TV that's like a week late in the stories and the trends and everything. So the only thing they ever do is tell you you're about to be destroyed by a natural disaster right when it's happening. They don't ever get on like a week before and start buying some food, water, make sure you got batteries. I mean, they have these little PSAs, but they play them in places nobody watches. So like, we're giving you a PSA. Look at the weather. Prepare for it. Don't be caught off guard. Don't be starving, thirsty, and homeless if you don't have to be. Is that too harsh? I don't know. Maybe it's a little harsh.
No, it's not. It's reality, man. And people need to really wake up. And I'd say that with in all seriousness, this is the way we would talk to our friends before, and they wouldn't get offended. They might get a little sad, but But it used to be like that. If somebody was really like completely off base, you would tell them. And they would either adjust or get over it, or that would be it, Like, you should be allowed to say those things. Why should you not? Maybe I'm old school, man. Look at I'm old, Maybe I'm in a different world now that has changed in front of me.
I was just thinking maybe we should get out there and invest in suppressors since the demand is skyrocketing. Do you think that has anything to do with people planning on hunting quietly more than it does about, what it insinuates? I think it's more about people realizing they're going to have to hunt quietly if things go bad. That's really what I think that uptick is about. I don't think it's about civil war or people, wanting to be clandestine. I think they just want to get Bambi without letting the entire forest know that they did it.
Well, the forests were hunted out within, a very short period of time in the Great Depression. Although, there's more people now, but I would not imagine that there would be that much game for very long. I imagine most of it would be hunted out in the first year. And then there's no replenishment stock. So once it's all taken away, it would take it would take a good 5 to 10 year period after those animals were reintroduced before they really started to repopulate the areas again.
Feed the squirrels.
I'm just saying from history.
Feed the squirrels, feed the wildlife. They'll be near you when you need it.
Yeah, and you need to know when to, take certain animals in seasons too. Like, rabbits, they always say don't eat a rabbit if it doesn't end with the month of R. September, October, November, December, you can eat rabbits. All the other time, apparently, there's some sort of parasite in their livers or in their bodies because of the conditions. Do you believe it?
Rabbits are good.
Is that another hunting? Until next week, thanks for joining us. CivilizationCycle.com. And please, if you like the content, buy us a coffee. Well, a double espresso. We're going to keep chugging through the evening here. Bye for now.